All right. Still trying to figure out the music thing. Obviously the music's on the background, but can't figure out if it's too loud or not. So maybe I don't want to scream over the sound of the music, but I also don't want to not hear it, because then it's like, why was I playing music in the first place? So hey everyone, let's just dive right into it. So I have Mediterranean food. I was specifically going to go to this Turkish restaurant, but it was really far out of the way and I wasn't going to be able to make it back in time with the times that they started doing their takeout. So here I am. But I've got feta fries, which is sounds like American, just slapped some Mediterranean on top. And I've also got a gyro and some baklava, which my husband says that he is going to split these with me because it is like a huge piece of baklava. I've never seen such a size. Usually the ones that I get are much smaller than that. So anyway, how is everybody doing? I didn't really come into today with many topics as far as like cyber things to talk about. So if you have some ideas, please comment them so I know kind of what everybody is looking at right now. We're well into 3 months into the year, so people are kind of getting back into the swing of, the post-holiday craze. People are, getting busier with like cyber threats and activity that's going on, just because that's the nature of like how the year seems to just snowball out of control when it comes to things that are going on in the cyber world. So yeah, I was just looking at the hacker news to try to pick out some topics to talk about today. There's a lot going on just in general. I seem to get very mixed reviews about my my Lockbit meme, which was funny and interesting. A lot of people were like, oh, haha, this is so funny, and it's relevant. And then there was another group of people that were like, oh, like we need to take things more seriously. We need to stop laughing at it. And I was like, yeah, but we can laugh. I mean, I don't know. It's okay to find things comedic while still trying to work to develop better systems to prevent them. And so if anybody doesn't know the Lockbit situation, Lockbit is a threat actor group that had their domains taken down by some global law enforcement groups, and then they sent out they did a whole bunch of incident response activities, and it was really, really funny to see them, send out some emails saying, hey, our domains are down, and this is what you should know. And everybody was joking that Lockbit's incident response activities are a lot better than like a lot of companies that we see. And so then I guess there was a meeting between one of the Lockbit brokers and some of the people that took down their domains. It was basically like, we're going to get our domains back up. Like, it just is what it is. And so true to what they said, they brought them back up, and it was just like, okay, they're going to bring them back down again? Like, I don't know. It was just funny. So you can joke about things and think they're funny without, encouraging that kind of behavior. I think that if we don't have a laugh about some of the stupid stuff that goes on in cyber and like the internet, like, I don't know, you're just a little bit too, live a little. So Mental Outlaw had a great video. I have never heard of Mental Outlaw, but I'll have to check it out because, yeah, that whole saga was so incredibly interesting, and just like the timing was so comedic. And then, yeah, so there's a suggestion to talk about the Russians infiltrating Microsoft, which I thought was really, really funny. So I posted something about, which I guess I shouldn't, you know, I work for Google, and so it's like, you know, it could happen to anybody, but it's just, you can be the most strong, like the most secure company in the world with, like, you know, you're paying millions of dollars for your security throughout the year, and still get your stuff cracked, because that's just the nature of 0 days. You don't know what you don't know. And I always think it's funny. I see people say like, oh, it wasn't a bug, it was a feature. That's like the common joke where when you see people that report bug bounties and like the company comes back and they're like, oh no, well, we wanted that to happen. It's like, okay, well, it's vulnerable. Like, regardless of if you wanted it to happen or not, like this could happen. And the reason why they're saying that is because you cannot reduce your risk to 0. There's no way to like break your risk down in a way that is 0. You will always assume some risk. So those companies are basically saying like, yeah, we understand it's vulnerable. That's why we put it in. Or they didn't put it in because it was vulnerable. They put it in because of a specific feature that they had. And so they knew about it, but they don't want to take it out because it will reduce the functionality or the what is it called? Basically the user experience. It will cut that down. So if they're willing to accept the risk for these certain vulnerabilities, they always joke, it's like, oh, it wasn't a bug, it was a feature. I'm sure that the Lockbit investigation is still going. I just haven't seen anything that's like been major that has gone on recently that has been like incredibly newsworthy headline making. It was more so about the actual like initial, we took it down and then they came back up. It's like if that were to make headlines every day in this constant cat and mouse game, I think people would probably get a little bored by it. I see my Canada Dry cup is like, it's green, so it's like messing with my green screen. So yeah. So anyway, yeah, so Russia taking over Microsoft is not they didn't take over Microsoft. They infiltrated Microsoft. They didn't take over anything. But the bottom line is that you can be a huge company and be incredibly secure, but you're going to assume risk in certain places, and that's where threat actors are going to take the opportunities to be able to break down your security systems that you do have put in place. And so that's why I like SecDevOps a lot more than DevOps with security implemented in the back end. DevOps is the cycle of software development where you develop the product and then you basically, security is not integrated into each step of the agile process. And so DevSecOps is where security is at every single level. And so every single step that someone takes to implement a new development feature, security is in mind in that place. So it's a lot less easy to overlook. It's a lot less easy to overlook, issues that come up. Yeah, secure by design. I'm going to minimize this really quick so I feel like I'm like staring at my computer screen, but my camera's over here, so I don't want to like, it's weird. I think I've almost been doing the live streaming thing for, I don't know, six months now. Yeah, this is the sixth Dino Nuggets. And it's still like really weird. I'm still trying to figure it out. I feel like, I don't know. It's weird. So I'm going to take a bite of big sandwich. So let's see. This is a good question. But I have a towel because this gyro is like so messy. Have there been any new developments in any CSAs regarding Volt Typhoon? Volt Typhoon is such a fickle and like constantly developing beast. I just think that I don't know. I have a lot of opinions about Volt Typhoon, and there's a lot of things that are floating around that say like, well, this is Volt Typhoon activity, and this is, you know, if they're doing these certain attacks, like it's specific to Volt Typhoon. I think one group of MITRE attacks that they have kind of focused on doing recently. It's people are treating it like it's never been seen before. And it's like, yeah, there are other threat actors that have done this. And like Iran did this in like 2013. And, you know, like this is not new, but because Volt Typhoon is such a hot topic and is such a buzzword right now, like it was like SolarWinds was a buzzword. Log4j was a buzzword. So now Volt Typhoon is the buzzword. We are just like clinging on to anything that smells like Volt Typhoon and then attributing it to that threat actor when that's not necessarily the case. Things that they have done as a threat actor group have been done in the past. I don't see a lot of new activity that is revolutionary. And I'm talking about techniques. I'm not talking about exploits, but like tactics, techniques, and processes. I think that's what TTP stands for. I don't remember from my military days, but whatever. TTPs, it's your tactics, it's your techniques that you're practicing while you're not practicing, but Volt Typhoon is going in and they're doing these certain things on systems that they go and exploit. Things that they have done, other APTs have done in the past, and they're attributing a lot of like, hey, if it comes out of China, it's Volt Typhoon. That's not the case. There are many APTs that come out of China. There are procedures. Thank you. Processes. I like processes too, though. Yeah, procedures is the P to TTPs. So there are a lot of APTs that have come out of China. There are a lot of like unknown, groups that haven't been labeled APTs that have come out of China and the region itself. And so we got to stop bucketing Volt Typhoon into this like, hey, if it smells like China, it's Volt Typhoon. But that's where people are getting caught up. And so they're not able to narrow down what activity on their systems or what activity that they're seeing in the news, for example, is attributed to Volt Typhoon. So yeah, the reporting has trickled off regarding that. I think because people are starting to realize that. I think that people are starting to understand that not everything that is coming out of China or that region, or that looks like the activity that Volt Typhoon has done in this past, let's just say, year, is all attributed to that one like APT. So just keep an eye out for it if it does come up. But I think people are starting to realize that not everything has to fall into this categorical buzzword of Volt Typhoon. And I think I've said Volt Typhoon like at least 24 times in this past 3 minutes. Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff that I'm sure that like government entities know about like these threat actors that like and Microsoft has, for example, we were just talking about the Russians and the Microsoft breaches and stuff. There are things that their internal threat organizations know about these threat actors that they don't divulge because that's proprietary threat intelligence information. Mandiant does a lot of, blog posts and stuff, but I know that the Microsoft Mystic does as well. And so there may be stuff that they know, but they haven't attributed to a certain group. And so they're not releasing that information, like IOCs or certain MITRE attacks. So yeah, it's one of those things that's like, there's a lot on the commercial and the public sector that is not being released about these certain groups. And so just knowing that, it's more than meets the eye of what the media is reporting on. And I'm sure that there are many other things that people are seeing that are attributed to these threat actors that are just not publicly available. Yeah, everything in PRC is Volt Typhoon. That's it. There's been no other threat actors. They've never done cyber attacks before. So what else? Something that I do want to say that is relevant to not necessarily threat actors, but cyber. I've had a lot of people that have been applying for jobs lately. I know of a lot of people that have been applying for jobs. I know of a lot of people that I've referred to certain Google jobs, and then I've put in recommendations for and wrote recommendation letters for. And it is like a dog world out there right now. People applying to companies like Google and Microsoft, like whatever they would call like the FANG corporations, their hiring processes are so slow for the external candidates. But I just want to reaffirm to you that they are so slow for the internal candidates as well. I know of someone that applied at a colleague of mine that applied for a position, a couple of weeks ago, like in the middle of February, and had an interview pretty quickly. This was an internal position that they currently have at Google, and they applied for another position to do like a lateral transfer. And I want to say it wasn't even a promotion. It was the same grade of it's in these corporate environments, we call them levels. So it was the same level as the position that they currently held. And like, they still haven't even heard back. This is like the March 15th now. They still even haven't heard back from the second round of interviews. So, but they haven't gotten denied. It's just that's the process. It is so slow for everybody, which really sucks, because if you're out of a job and that's a month long, just to get to a second interview, I don't know if how many interviews certain roles have. Some have more than 2. But if you have these people that are out of jobs for, a month, like that's a whole month's rent, that's a whole month's bills to pay. And then that's at the worst case scenario. So, I just wanted to reaffirm that people that are looking for jobs, if you are, feeling like you are lost because you're not getting responses, I know that people have gotten like denials and stuff too pretty quickly, I would rather a quick denial than a slow acceptance or slow success, because at least I know what's going on in the process. And so, yeah, that really sucks for people. So just know that you're not alone. Like, it's not as easy for us that are already internal to get roles that are internal to our companies either. I think it's just it's corporate. Small businesses probably hire a lot quicker, but I can only speak from my experience being at a higher, a larger corporate company. I just bumped my knee. It stinks because people are like, this is money that you have to pay to wait to find a job. I see Kevin, I would butcher his last name. Kevin A, he posts pretty frequently about like a lot of help desk and IT stuff, but he has been looking for a job for months now. And it's like, this is an individual that contributes a lot to the community, and you have to ask yourself, like, what roles are these people applying for, and are they qualified for them, and things like that. But I have heard his responses where he said, like, hey, I'm either underqualified or overqualified for these positions. Like, these positions that I'm applying for are not even like they're not within the scope of what I'm currently able to do, which really sucks, because he's like stuck in a limbo like point where he just like can't find a role that is at his ability to ascertain. And so, like, that's money that people are spending to wait and see if they're going to get accepted for the next round of interviews. So anyway, just wanted to point out that if you feel like you're struggling to apply for jobs and people aren't responding to you, it's like that across internal and external. It seems like that's I'm gonna put this Apollinario, I think, and I am so bad with names, and so I apologize, but this is who I was talking about. He's such a great candidate for any jobs, and he does a lot of mentorship on LinkedIn and YouTube, but he's just like not finding the right fit that's like within his ability to like not be overqualified or underqualified for. So that sucks, because you see like these people, they're like, how are you not finding a job? And it's just like everybody is struggling. So yeah, and it's best to find a job when you already have a job. But unfortunately, I totally agree. And it just sucks for people that have had like the unfortunate experience of getting laid off, or, the company is, downsizing, or reorganization is what is the key term I always hear. We're reorganizing. So sometimes it's a choice to look for a new job, but sometimes you don't have the option to, do that. If you guys can help Kevin get a job, if you want a job, like, the best thing to do is, it sucks to say, but it's like, just keep networking. Not that networking and referrals are going to get you a job, but it at least exposes you to more opportunities that are out there. And so I've had a lot of people ask me, like, hey, have you found a benefit in personally branding yourself? And I got this job at Mandiant not from a referral, not from I didn't have any referrals or anything like that. Now, my consulting partner had a referral for his job. We do the same thing for our clients. So we are like two peas in a pod. We're like the same people. We work the same job, but he had a referral for this job. I did not. I just applied because I saw the opportunity. I saw that it was something that I could qualify for, and I went in and I did it. And so it's not all networking, but what brand recognition is identifying people that you can connect with to expand your opportunities and expand the number of people that you're seeing available to potentially, connect with that might be hiring. So I had the hiccups now. Networking's not going to get you a job, but it's going to show you and open doors for more opportunities. So just keep that in mind. And yeah, every job has the word cyber in it now. It's like, I've seen, and I saw something earlier today that someone had posted that they had received a direct message on LinkedIn that was like, we're looking for someone that's like got CISO, that's either at a CISO or a junior level role. And I'm like, what a broad, expansive experience. A CISO level or a junior. Like, that doesn't make sense. It's just like companies like that and organizations like that really like want there to be cyber, but they don't know what it is. You can't say like, I want a CISO or I want a junior analyst. Like, that doesn't make sense. So people just want to include it because it's the hot thing. And yeah. Yeah, and something that I've been picking up doing a lot of this year, to this point, something that I've been doing all of this year is trying to get out and do more. Got really close to the camera there. Do more talks, like presentations at conventions and things like that. I have a speaking role at TechNet Augusta this year, which is super cool. I'm talking about AI and how we can utilize it to fuel like basically our purple teams, so like offensive and defensive, and kind of like putting those pieces together to leverage the technology that AI actually is, because people are like, oh, well, AI is going to take our jobs, and to some aspects, sure, like AI is going to make things easier, and so like those jobs are not necessarily those jobs, but those work roles will go away. But you're still going to have like a pen tester to do certain things, and you're going to have like a SOC analyst to subjectively look at stuff that maybe they have found. You can look at objective alerts all day long, but thinking like a hacker, thinking like a person that's like going through your network and looking for stuff. So I got a speaking role at TechNet, and yeah, AI makes our lives just easier. It's not going to replace our jobs, but it's going to, give us the opportunity to get rid of some of the more mundane things. And I have to take my earbuds out because now they're dying. It's going to be able to give us the opportunity to get rid of the tasks that are just really crappy and focus on the things that are more enjoyable and that need like a human touch to do. So that's in a nutshell, that's what I'm talking about. But going to do that, I get to teach at Black Hat this year, which is super cool. So I'm like finishing up my my OSDA so I can go and teach that course. So trying to get out and network with people face to face. It's really cool to have like these online, like I wouldn't even call them personas, because like I'm not me personally. I am exactly who I am here online as I am in person. I just might be a little bit more fleshy in person. But we have these like online brands and these people that we look like we are on LinkedIn and YouTube and stuff like that. But being able to go and make those face-to-face connections and saying like, here, I'm Bailey Marshall. I do this stuff. Like I am a physical, real person. It was funny because I was speaking to someone the other day and they were actually shocked that like they had asked me if I wanted to do something to help bring in more females into offensive security. And I was like, yes, absolutely. I'd love to do that. And when we had our conversation, like I had to have my video off because I was in like I just wasn't in a situation where I could turn my video on. So I was on audio. And I was like, hey, I can't be on video right now because of this, and this. And they were like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, whatever, it suits yourself. Like, and I was like, okay. But then later on in the conversation, I was able to get on video. And they were like, whoa, like you are who you say you are. And I was like, yeah, like I am exactly who I told you that I was. I just wasn't able to, get on video. So it's like people are shocked to see that you are an actual real person. And I met a couple people at a VentureCon that I went to a couple weeks ago promoting some Applied Technology Academy stuff. And they're like, oh my gosh, like I follow you on LinkedIn. And I was like, whoa, like that's really like crazy. Like I'm so glad to like actually put a name to a face and actually meet you. So it was so cool. So it's really awesome to see like how you get to network with people like in real life. It's so much more fun. And COVID kind of changed the way we do things because everything has the opportunity to be online now because we made it was a necessity then, but now 4 years removed from that situation, the technology and the opportunities are still there. So accessibility is easier, but it doesn't replace the thrill of being able to go through and meet someone like in person and interface with those people. So yeah, I'm gonna ramble on. Yeah, I saw this recently as well. Google was implementing something for their Chrome. I can't speak intelligently on what it was because I'm not part of that program, but I did see it on the Hacker News and some other news articles. And so very similarly, Microsoft is rolling out Copilot. And so I think that these are such cool integrations to have in things that we use on a daily basis, because it's going to make the life of people that actually do things on a daily basis, those like monotonous, tedious tasks, so much better. I really love MDE. It's Microsoft. I'll butcher the acronym. It's Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. It's a really great tool to be able to detect, certain anomalies on your systems that you might not otherwise identify. I haven't gotten to play around with it too much, but I work with some colleagues that utilize it on their daily operations, and just everything that they tell me about being able to use like the security features on the endpoint is just like, it's really awesome. So these technologies are not here to replace our jobs. They're just here to make them better. Do I see an opportunity to change the industry to a trade? Yeah. Truthfully, I've never thought about that. Well, I wouldn't say that I've never thought about it. It's just that that's going to be hard to do because it's a mindset that we've gotten. I say we, it's not the collective we, it's the we that has been making the decisions for the past few decades. So that generation's going to phase out, and eventually they won't be making these decisions, and millennials and Gen Z are going to take over a lot of those like management positions. And I see a lot of that already happening as like elder millennials start to move into those like higher ranking director positions. So it's implementing a culture of change to make the cybersecurity industry a more like a trade craft. I saw someone comment on this recently. The way that we can do something like this now is open up the opportunity for more junior or associate level roles, like junior penetration tester, junior SOC analyst, things like that. And I think that there is a lot of headway made in the education industry to help with this, but there needs to be a bridge between the education industry. There's been a lot of work in cybersecurity education to help make this cultural change, but then there is the corporate or company or business change that needs to be made, and these two are not like bridging together. And so it's going to have to be a collective effort between the corporate industry itself and the education sector, because right now there are so many certifications you can get for everything. There are so many accrediting like companies that you can get, like I'm certified in blah blah blah, or I took, there's so many companies that you can take online courses for. And to be honest, like from my personal opinion, it is great that people are trying to level up their skills and be able to take like those Udemy courses or those Cybrary or Coursera courses and get like their certificate, and then they put them on their LinkedIn, and it's like, hey, like I took this course, like I learned this thing, and I love that for them. But companies are not recognizing that kind of initiative and progress for entry-level individuals to say, hey, they understand because they took these courses and they got certified in these things, but they don't have Security Plus, or they don't have their OSCP, so they could never be a pen tester. I don't have my OSCP. I don't have any OffSec certifications, and I direct our offensive security program at ATA. I didn't need any OffSec certifications when I was in the military. I just did my job. I needed the CEH because that was what was required by the public sector. So I got that. But CEH is not a practical or hands-on application to tell you that I'm good at pen testing or that I'm good at offensive security. But I didn't need that in the military because we had different expectations, but it's not like that in the corporate world, and it's not like that in the private sector. You need industry recognized certifications or industry recognized education. But even still, while that's a step up from, taking the initiative to do online courses and things like that, companies still don't necessarily say, hey, well, you're certified in, Security Plus, so we're going to give you a job as a SOC, level, SOC level 2 or level 1 analyst. They're not at that point. They want you to have experience coming in before they're going to give you more experience. So I don't know what the answer is to how to do that. I do see an opportunity to change that because I think people are trying to make headway with offering more entry-level opportunities as part of like a trade or an internship or an apprenticeship. But we're just not fully implementing that mindset across the industry. So I think once that mindset gets a little bit more established, and also the other consideration is too, especially in the United States, I can't speak for other countries, but inflation is like crazy here. Regardless of your political opinion, like right now, just things cost more. Interest rates for mortgages and, cars and things like that, like things just cost more. So people need to make money. So a lot of people can't afford to take an unpaid internship or an unpaid apprenticeship, which is a lot of things that corporations are offering. Like, you can come work for us, but we don't want to pay you. Like, people need to be paid. And so there's also like that consideration as well. And that's a more economic consideration, but it's just one of those things that's like, again, a mindset. You can't say, hey, come work for me for 4 months, but I'm not going to pay you. And this is the only way that you're going to get experience so that I could pay you to do a job. Like, that's just not how, in 2024, that's not how people can function and live. So yeah, there's an opportunity. I just don't know what the correct way to go about that is. And now that I'm repeating it to myself, I had mentioned like, I haven't really thought about that. I think I've thought about it more than I give myself credit for. I think because I don't know the solution to the problem yet, I think is where I feel like I haven't thought about it. It's not necessarily that I haven't thought that this was a good idea. I've just thought that maybe, I don't know what the correct answer is. If that makes sense. Hey, Taylor, do you want to come on? Let's see if I can add you to stage. Hey!
Hey! You got me with the crazy hair and everything else. I've been out in the rain and everything else today. So
yeah, y'all don't know, Taylor and I are both from Georgia. We're like 2.5 hours away from each other. But yeah, it was pouring rain right before I got on Dino Nuggets. So I was having to rush in to bring in my food. So that way it didn't look like a mop.
I've been trying to get the dogs outside to go to the bathroom, and they do not want to go. So I've been out in the rain and everything else, but I wouldn't miss this. And I've been, of course, blowing up chat. I've got all the questions in the world. So
yeah, well, come on, that's what it was here for. I initially wanted to start this like 6 months ago for people to actually join in on video, but since then it's just been me talking. So like, if anybody else is wanting to come on video, like by all means join. That's why I put the link in. But welcome. So
thank you.
Did you you heard most of what I just said, right? Do you agree with like my, I guess, assessment of what the opportunity is to?
Yeah.
You said that you're coming from the automotive industry, and I know that you've been in IT and security for a little bit of time, enough to speak intelligently on it.
Yeah, I mean, at least I think I sound somewhat intelligent when I talk. But no, I think there's a whole lot of opportunity here. That we've got a lot of interest in the industry, but we're not giving people avenues to get in. And if you really look at the definition of an apprenticeship now, especially from the federal government side of things, there's actually an entire group in the federal government now, or a apprenticeship.gov, and they define an apprenticeship as a paid opportunity to work for a company and, you know, grow and get your training, get your foundation, and have a pathway to grow within that organization. So I don't think you're going to see many apprenticeships and internships anymore that are going to be unpaid, but they may not be the greatest pay. But what I also look at is, you know, we have a lot of opportunity through federal grants and everything else, that through these apprenticeship initiatives that they have, depending on the state, you can subsidize these companies, give them money to bring somebody on, and then pay them a decent salary because you're being subsidized. So that gap where, you know, you're taking a risk on somebody, it's going to go away, or it gets minimized to an acceptable loss if somebody doesn't work out. And, you know, if say 1 in 4 works out, you're probably still in a pretty good place, and you've had that opportunity to grow people within. And honestly, I really see the value in people coming into a job, and when you get that opportunity to learn and grow and become that holder of tribal knowledge, you start to love that company more and more, and you really become invested in it, and you don't want to work anywhere else. I mean, of course, there are toxic work environments and everything else. There's a lot of factors that play into that, but there's a big opportunity there. And that's something that I'm very passionate about, is like, I think there's a huge gap that we have between the people that are coming in and where we are now currently in the industry, and that we could flip this thing on its head and still be very successful.
I was afraid I was getting an echo from my computer, and so I was trying to put my headphones back in, and it didn't work. And I was like, okay, but I heard everything that you said. So it's the nature of, you know, trying to figure out this live stream technology stuff.
So you sound like you're really far from the mic now. So I think you have another...
Did I disconnect from?
Yeah, I don't know. It sounded like you got really far away there for a second.
Let me see real quick. Yeah, I think I'm on the correct one. Oh, well, it's okay. No, don't switch back and forth between headphones and microphones and stuff in the middle of a live stream.
I've made that mistake. So. Yeah, it happens. We're still learning. So
I know. I'm not a seasoned streamer yet. So
I think you've got about a month on me, maybe 2 months on me. So
yeah. So you were saying, you know, like, more unpaid, you know, more paid internships. So Barrick brought up a good point about, so last time we talked about, like, Chipotle had cybersecurity jobs, because I love Chipotle. It's my favorite food ever. And I saw that they had like an opening for a cybersecurity engineer, and I was like, whoa, that would be so cool. Like, get some Chipotle stock while getting to, you know, like, test their networks and stuff. So I brought that up last time. And then Barrick brought up this good point, that, like, smaller companies, not smaller companies. McDonald's, like, a huge corporation, right? It's a globally recognized, but you typically think of getting a job at McDonald's as like a, you know, I'm a fast food worker, I'm a cashier or something like that. Yeah, having places like that are that seemingly look like, you know, hey, this is an entry-level job that maybe a high schooler might get, or a college student, or someone that just is, you know, like, just needs to make ends meet. That's the perception of these jobs, right? And then having, like, people be able to do those things, like, hey, I need to break into cybersecurity. I need a job out of high school, or I need a college job to be able to go and work for a company like that. That the perspective is like, this is a job to make ends meet, so I can get experience to do something else, or I have, you know, time to go get my education so I can do something else. And then they could have the opportunity to do like hourly wage where they're like making money by the hour to get experience in cyber, but then hey, I do something else, like I'm a full-time college student, or like I'm just looking to make money right now because I've got to support my family, but I'm still wanting to get experience. Like, what is your perspective on something like the Barrick's comment?
So I look at companies that are kind of role models in that kind of front. If you look at here in the South, Publix, when you go work for Publix, they provide scholarships for you to go to school and essentially level up. They want you to go to school and do something bigger. And so they offer you those pathways to drive into cybersecurity, to drive into management, to drive into really wherever you want to go, but they want to help you get there, and they will help subsidize your education. They will work around your school schedule to make that happen. So that's the kind of example that I think is a fantastic example for our industry, is if you're willing to work with somebody and make their dreams happen, you're going to have a lifelong employee, or at least a champion behind you for that, like, especially for the next group coming in. You have somebody that you're going to be able to feed people to them. Go work for Publix. They'll help you. They'll pay for your college degree. They'll help subsidize that, and they'll work with you all the way through, and then you can do what you want to do from there. And if you think about it, you're filling a gap where somebody may not be able to, or may not want to fill that role, but they're going to take it because the opportunity at the end of it is so much larger. And unfortunately, like, you think about it, like, not everybody wants to be in septic tank repair or things like that. Like, that's not somebody's like dream job. If it's your dream job, by all means, call me out on it. But in all reality, we've got to have stepping stones to get from A to B or A to X. We've got to find a way, and all of our pathways are different. We've all taken different routes. But being able to have companies that are supportive of that, I think, is very, very important.
Yeah, I totally agree. And as you were saying, the reference to Publix and how they have like the stepping stones, and how you could walk away from someone like, a grocery store and be like, hey, go work for them. They have a great culture. They, have the opportunity. I see that a lot from people that did military. And whatever your opinion about military culture is based on what you've heard, I had some not so fun experiences. Some people have had a great military career, but the bottom line is that people will say, hey, the military paid for my career, or paid for my education. They gave me job experience. They gave me, in some cases they get a security clearance and things like that. That's a good opportunity for you to go and get your cybersecurity experience. So that's what people will say. And not everybody wants to go into the military. Not everybody thinks that that's a good opportunity for them to do. But having like a model like that for like corporate jobs, like you said, like Publix, or I see Buc-ee's does it. 'Cause I'm from Texas. So Buc-ee's has like a really good stepping stone, like where, hey, you can start out here. They give you 401k, like if you work at a gas station, right? Like that's, Buc-ee's is a glorified gas station. And you get 401k benefits, and you get like sick leave and medical, and you get like a reasonably good paying hourly wage. And maybe being a franchise owner at a Buc-ee's is not what you want to do for your forever job or your dream job, and that's maybe not where you want to retire. But giving people like that culture and that mindset of like, hey, these companies offer like great opportunities for you to get the experience, but they also take care of you while you're doing it. I think that that's probably a much better mindset for corporations. But again, it's you have to get buy-in for that, because if I were to go preach this at one of these bigger corporations, these multi-billion trillion dollar tech companies like Google and Meta and Amazon, they're going to be like, yeah, whatever, okay, thanks thanks for your suggestion, but yeah, we're not going to do that, because it's almost like a monetary loss for them to educate people and get them trained up. I've always heard that it is easier, or it's cheaper to maintain someone at a job and do like a like a role transfer than to hire on someone new. And so I think a lot of companies take that and they like make it their golden mantra. Like, we're just going to hire internally if we can. We don't want to expend any more money to bring anybody on, and we don't want to offer any more benefits than we need to for new employees because we're already spending this much amount of money on our current employees, which kind of sucks because people lose out when companies have that mindset.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I'm in that boat right now.
Yeah.
Working at General Electric, I'm a contractor. I don't have the opportunity to apply for internal roles, even though I've been there for almost 20 months now as a contractor. They are looking only to promote and move people internally, and I cannot find a job. Like, it's a struggle. It is a real struggle, and it's frustrating because I have that tribal knowledge. I have the inner workings of this company already, like as much as some of the people who've been there for the same amount of time as a full-time employee, but I don't get that benefit of already being a full-time employee, and it's frustrating. It drives me up the wall.
Yeah. It's like, and I know that we have contractors in Google too, and a lot of times, like, I can imagine that there are jobs that they would want to apply for, and I'm sure it's like that. Like you said, like it's probably like that at other places too that are big companies. It's like they're not maybe treated or no, I wouldn't say treated the same, but just like when you're applying for roles, you're not put in the pool of internal candidates. You're put into like you look like an external candidate to a company that you're applying to, but you still work for them. You're just not like, you are not them. You just look like them and you do their work, but you go by another name or something like that. So
yeah, I call it being a second-class citizen. It really is. Like, we are not treated the same. We're like, it is a culture thing. Where I'm at is like, contractors are not treated as even remotely close to employees, and it's really frustrating, like trying to break down some of those bridges and get your job done. But but I think there's a definite disparity in the industry where we can really make big changes to grow we have so many jobs that need to be filled. They're all probably mid-senior level, but where are we going to fill that pipeline from underneath to bridge that gap? And that's really where I see, if we're screaming that we need people, but we're not willing to train people, we've got a fundamental like methodology issue there. We've got a mentality issue that's happening. And I'm new. Legit being in cybersecurity for 20 months. So, but I see the problem. I know the problem, and I want to try and fix it. And I'm trying to learn as much as I can, as much as I try to also get in and, make my own pathway. I've got to grow too. So like, I've got to do both at the same time, but I'm working on it.
I think that's a huge difference in like I wouldn't even say it's a generational difference, not necessarily in the sense of age or like if you're a boomer, or millennial, or Gen X, whatever. A generational in terms of how long you've been in the industry. Mm-hmm. I've been in IT and security for 8 years now. You've been in for 20 months, but we have the same perspective versus someone that might have, been in the industry for 20 years. Like IT and cyber has not been what it is today as long as, those people that are in these like really high level roles have been in business, period. It's still like a fairly new technology if you want to compare it to how long the like human race has done stuff. And so like the generational mindset of people in the industry that have been in for a shorter amount of time and are new, like see these things that need to be changed because it's so fresh to them. And it's different than when these people that have been in 20, 30 years were trying to get in, because cyber wasn't really a thing, like a big buzzword like it was, in the 90s. And so people that were working in the 90s, they started out in different businesses anyway, because cyber wasn't like what it is today. And so somehow their paths segued, and they come in and they bring in this mentality of, you know, well, it should be easy because like I had the opportunity to get experience and stuff. And it's like, you had the opportunity to get experience in business, finance, healthcare, things like that, but like not necessarily cyber, because cyber didn't really exist in, you know, the time that you were getting into the industry. So I think a lot of people that are coming into the industry now see like, hey, can someone help us? Like nobody like is giving us any additional assistance than what it was 20, 30 years ago, but things have changed. And I guess what is, where do you see the change? Like what level do you see the change needs to be?
So, I mean, I completely agree. I mean, if you think back to the 90s, think about like ISSA, which I will come out and say that I am a director of membership here in Atlanta. Very new. I'm like 2-3 weeks minted, so very fresh. But if you look, like they've been around since the early 90s. I mean, they've been around for a while. And that was as information security was starting to become a thing. And then things happened, like SOX comes around because we had to have Sarbanes-Oxley. We had to have, you know, controls put in place. So that gets expanded to information assurance. And so I think cyber is kind of this like buzzword that kind of lumps a lot of different fields together. It's network security, it's information security, it's information assurance. There's a lot of different domains to it. But a lot of these people that did come up in the 90s, they didn't have the skills that are being taught now. They had to learn them. Yeah. But they were given the opportunity because there was transferable skills that they had. And now you don't have necessarily that look at transferable skills on a resume. It is, what do you know that is in our checklist? And I think there's, I mean, in all honesty, I said it earlier, like I've legit applied to 5 jobs a day since January 1st. And I've had 2 interviews this year. Both were through networking. Yeah. And it was because they saw what I've done outside and they could like give me that reference because I had transferable skills that I can bring to bridge that gap between my current skill set and then what they're looking for. And it's one of those where maybe hiring managers need to kind of read between the lines. You've got to have a way to fill in and make these things work. And sometimes you got to take a chance on somebody. But if we don't have that open mindset, I think there's a big disparity there where we're trying to fill these roles, but we're only looking in our current talent pool and we're not trying to build our talent pool.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Biggest part of it.
Yeah, exactly. And that brings up a good point to Jennifer's point.
Jennifer,
our infograph queen this week,
absolutely,
has been busting out all the good infographics. She's finally figured out the algorithm.
Yeah, she's got some beautiful ones coming out.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, she said that, you know, global and cloud infrastructure has changed so much of what could be entry level, and that is so true. Like, in my personal opinion, I could see an architect role being an entry level position because I attribute an architect as like a like IT, where you used to architect like the networks and the physical like layout of a digital infrastructure. Now you've got it all in the cloud, so you can take those skills. It's the same mindset of like, how do I architect a cloud infrastructure? And I could see that being a very entry level role if it was treated appropriately, because I've seen like AWS where they're like, oh, cloud architect, that's like the hardest certification ever. Well, why are we making it so hard? Like, we're making it difficult, and it doesn't need to be that difficult. So I think there's a lot
especially how you look at a cloud architect role. Are you looking for somebody to be the person that is going in and physically building stuff, which I would look as more of an engineer?
Yeah.
Or are you looking at somebody who's going through and evaluating your current environment or evaluating your best practices and then making those recommendations over to the infrastructure team to your IT team, and here's how we need to go forward building these environments out. Here are going to be our new security baselines. That is something you could have as an entry level if you gave people the right training in your compliances, whether it's GDPR, whether it's PCI DSS, whether it's HIPAA, whatever it may be, but being able to train them on those compliances and then how it looks in your security tools and your security environment, it absolutely could be entry level. Somebody can sit there and, like I'm doing today for GE, I'm dying in spreadsheets. But you can do that, and you can at least get a perspective on the industry and really get here's what the impact that I'm making within this organization, and here's how I'm helping improve their security posture. And I think that's another part of it too, is like being able to feel that you're actually making a difference is a big part of success in this industry as well. Because if you're sitting there just dying and you don't ever see the end goal, or you don't ever see the progress you've made, it really makes it challenging.
Yeah, it does. I can totally tell you so many times I've sat down and done some work and I'm like, why am I doing this? This sucks. And it's like, but you see the end product and you're like, man, I did that. Like, congratulations to me. Like, nobody else needs to pat me on the back. I look at this, 1,000-line spreadsheet and I'm like, man, that's beautiful. Like, I really did that. Good job, me. So yeah,
the smallest one I have today is 42,000 lines.
Goodness.
I've got 8 of them. So I think the biggest is about 120. But yeah, I'm actually done with about 90% of it, and I started yesterday afternoon. So
yeah,
getting there. But yeah, it's painful. But I need the beer hat with Visine droppers to my eyes just to.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
I can visualize.
Actually, I can see the bags under my eyes from staring at the computer for the past 2 days. This is terrible. This lighting is absolutely horrible for me.
I pulled up an hour on Tuesday and did the very same thing, and I took a picture of myself just to see that the bags were under my eyes. So, yeah. So
yeah, the lighting's awful here. I need to work on this.
Yeah. Well, thanks for hopping on. I appreciate it. You're like my
first this has been amazing
guest.
No, I mean, want to have me on again? I'm happy to jump in. And I was chatting and I was like, you know what? I need to take a break from this nonsense. I was like, I'm going to jump in and see what happens. So. Yeah,
definitely. Well, I'm going to go finish my lunch, and then Jennifer and I are going to go get coffee. So,
dang.
Yeah.
I guess, you'll be done 2.5 hours. I can't be there. So, no.
Yeah. So, anyway, thanks for hopping on, and I'm going to get off here. And so, we'll do another Dino Nuggets next month. And stick around for that.
Sounds good. I look forward to it.
Taylor.
We'll see you then.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.